Welcome to another video on Influence of Sports. This video is a very special video. Shout out to Black Couch Booking. Gave me a challenge, gave me a title of a video, and I had to come up with the details of it. So AEW Women's Division, it's being heavily slept on. Let's talk about it. First, let's just run through the roster of women that they have. They have Mercedes Moné, Mariah May, Toni Storm, Chris Statlander, Willow Nightingale, Queen Aminata, Harley Cameron, Jamie Hayter, Julia Hart, Britt Baker, etc. And the list go on and on. And those are not the only women I'm going to be talking about in this video, but they have a very talented group of women on this roster. They also own Ring of Honor now, who has Athena, who's been on a lengthy reign. That's the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. Red Velvet, Layla Gray, Sky Blue, Kiera Hogan, Ty Valkyrie, who be on Dynamite every here and then. Abaddon, Hikaru Shida, who is a really great wrestler. Nyla Rose, Billy Starks. And then they also have a partnership with New Japan Pro, who has people like Mina Shirakawa and Momo Watanabe. And the partnership, I'm going to get to that a little bit later. But you look at some of these top women that they have, like they've done a great job putting on some solid matches, building some good feuds. Like for the longest time, it was a criticism with AEW about their women's division and not really building up matches, not having no storylines. But this women's division, especially in 2024, they really stepped up. Like everybody I said, let's look back at Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale, the heated feud they had last year. They put on consistent bangers, whether it was one-on-one matches, tag team matches, and they just got in the ring. They showed they had really good chemistry with each other. And even the triple threat match they just had that included Toni Storm, it was a solid match. So, and you don't see this feud get talked about as one of the top women's feuds for last year, but it was definitely up there and definitely should have been talked about. Look at the gauntlet of people Mariah May ran through. She beat Toni Storm for the title. The rivalry they had was one of the best last year because of how well Toni and Mariah May played into it. And with Toni Storm being timeless Toni Storm and having Mariah May by her side. But as soon as Mariah May won that Owen Hart Women's Cup tournament, she turned her back on Toni Storm. She let her know that she was going after the title. Then the match they had at All In was spectacular. And I know AEW pay-per-views can drag. Those are really good matches they had. And Mariah May got her moment at Wembley, well-deserved. She beat, then she turned on Mina Shirakawa, ended up beating her as well. Had a fun Tawana street fight with Thunder Rosa at World's End. She ended up winning. So those just name a few of the people she done ran through. Then she's probably going to do something with Harley Cameron soon. Even AEW is even implementing a women's casino gauntlet battle royal to determine who's going to be facing Mariah May next for the title. That's something the Young usually did for the men, but with this talented of a roster, they're able to do that now. And then you look at Mercedes Moné, 4 belts Moné now. That's how good she was, and this is where the talk about this partnership comes in. Like them having a partnership with New Japan Pro and Mina Shirakawa, she's a really great wrestler. Don't think the promos are that great, but she can wrestle. And it's like her being in New Japan Pro, being on AEW, being in consistent feuds and storylines like the likes of Mariah May with Mercedes Moné. Like you got to give a big shout out to Mina and the stuff that she's doing. But to speak on Mercedes Moné, she started off, well, once she left WWE, ended up in New Japan, went on a good run there. She had the injury, but then when she came back, made her debut in AEW, let it be known that I'm the star of this division. So she took the TBS title, made it as big as when it felt when Jade had it, like Jade Cargill when she was the TBS champion. It felt like the main championship, and that's what Mercedes has done with this TBS title. She's going over New Japan, winning titles, so it's like the partnership that AEW and New Japan has with the pay-per-views like Wrestle Dynasty, like Forbidden Door. It's always great matches. And New Japan, they don't have the deepest women's roster, but Mina, she's definitely one of them ones. So it's like when you have her and Mercedes putting on that match, like it's drawing attention to Japan. It's drawing attention to both Japan and AEW. And it's not like New Japan has the deepest women's roster, to be honest. But it's like, yeah, so shout out to Mercedes and Mina, because I watched that match they had. It was a really good match. And obviously, as I mentioned, Momo Watanabe, she had a match at Forbidden Door last year. That was also a solid match. I think, yeah, she was part of that feud with Willow. She was teaming up with Willow at the pay-per-view. So, as I said, it's a lot of memorable moments from last year specifically, and the women's division still isn't being talked about. And let's get right back to Mercedes. Mercedes Moné, her hit list. Willow Nightingale beat her to win the TBS title. Queen Aminata, she beat her, and it was just a standard one-on-one match. But it was on a random Dynamite, and it was a really good match. It was like, it's like Queen Aminata is tough. Like I don't know that much about her, but then seeing her wrestle on TV, it was like, this match is really good, and both women did a great job. It's not like either one carried the other. Like they both just had a really great match. She beat Chris Statlander twice, and both were really good matches. I thought Chris Statlander would have won one of them, but both of those matches were really solid and fun to watch. Beat Mina Shirakawa to become 4 belts Monet, and it's like she deserves that. She's one of the top stars of all time. She's definitely one of the top women's wrestlers of all time. So I don't have no problem with her having 4 belts at the moment. One I didn't even mention, Britt Baker. I ain't even write that down, but I just remembered they had a really good match, and Mercedes ended up getting the win against Britt Baker. So it's like Mercedes Moné, she's an elite wrestler, and then the promo skills, they're hit or miss. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't. But even that, just being a decent mic worker, that's still really good, and she's a great heel. I'm ready to see what they do with her and Camille once Camille comes back, because I do see her getting that TBS title. But big shout out to Mercedes Moné. Tony Storm with the gimmick she's been pulling off over the last year, the timeless Tony Storm gimmick, that probably shouldn't have worked, but she made it work so well, and the end result of her losing to Mariah May and just Tony having a great championship reign, like it really helped both of them. It really helped both of them elevate to what they are now. Like it helped Tony Storm become a bigger star, and in the end, her putting over Mariah May, it helped both of them become bigger stars. Then for her to take that gimmick and after she lost the title to come back, like she lost her memory and now she's a rookie. Like I don't think anybody's ever pulled off that gimmick in wrestling after they lost the title and come back as a completely new person. It's like she's playing this role as the rookie, quote unquote, and it's been great so far. It's like she don't remember anything. She's trying to shake hands with everybody, introduce herself to Deonna Purrazzo or the other woman that be with her, which I'm gonna get to that as well. It's like that gimmick, both her gimmicks will work really well, and she's probably gonna be in the running for female superstar of the year if she keeps this up. And it's only January 11th when I'm making this video, but that's how well I think this gimmick is going. Obviously, she's gonna get back in the title picture at some point. I think they're gonna run back her and Mariah May at some point. So I'm loving these gimmicks from Tony Storm. Then we talk about the title reigns that these women have. You look and the titles. I mean, you have in Ring of Honor. Let's get to that. Athena, she's been on the roll. Haven't watched much Ring of Honor, but I have been keeping up with the New Japan, and she had a really fun Fatal 4-Way with Willow and 2 other people. But it's like if Athena wasn't that big of a star, AEW and New Japan wouldn't put her in that position. They believe in her and Willow so much that they're letting them go to Japan and have matches on Wrestle Dynasty, or I think that was the one they had the match on. They did Wrestle Dynasty and Wrestle Kingdom the same day, but it was Wrestle Dynasty. I'm pretty sure they had the Fatal 4-Way on the kickoff show. Like obviously AEW has a lot of faith in them to put on good matches, and they did that. Red Velvet, she's also a good wrestler, and that's Athena. She's a great promo. Just had to put it out there. Red Velvet, the Ring of Honor Women's TV Champion. Like I said, don't watch much Ring of Honor, but when I have seen Red Velvet on AEW TV, she can wrestle. So it's like Ring of Honor, they have a deal, and they be on right before AEW. The live fans get to see that. So it's cool that they both have seen the Ring of Honor has 2 women's singles championships, so it gives everybody a chance to compete for these titles. In AEW, as I mentioned, Mariah May and the gauntlet of women she's ran through. Don't know who's next, but I'm excited for it. And I think Mariah May, I think she's one of the best promo workers, if not the best, especially in this recent heel run that she's been on. It's been phenomenal. Mercedes Moné, I don't even think I got to talk about her much more. Being a dominant TBS champion, making it feel important, elevating it up there to where you look at Mercedes and Mariah May, and it's kind of like it's dead even as who's the better wrestler. Or, yeah, at this point in time, and who's having the better championship reign, it's pretty dead even. Then you still have tag teams, which I ain't even touch on. And obviously, when AEW and Ring of Honor having a partnership, looking at all that, well, AEW owns Ring of Honor. It's only 4 women's tag teams. You had an Outcast with Harley Cameron and Saraya. You have the Vendetta with Deonna Purrazzo and Ty Valkyrie. You have Layla Hirsch and Rachel Erlin. Then you got MIT with Athena and Billy Starks. And now this might sound like a crazy idea because people say, well, they got too many championships. if they added a women's tag team championship to help this division to get championships on other people, I don't think that'd be a bad idea. I think the problem is there's too many men's championships, and that's where the problem lies. The women's championships are cool. And I'll probably make a separate video talking about which titles AEW needs to get rid of and which titles they should bring in. But if you implement a women's tag team titles, you seen WWE did it, you seen TNA did it. If AEW did it, that wouldn't be a problem because this women's division is very talented. So then you have 4 teams you can work with. If Athena was to lose the Ring of Honor women's championship to, let's say, Sky Blue, then her and Billy Starks, they went on a run and became the first AEW women's tag team champions. Not only do you get somebody as talented as Athena back on AEW TV, but you're also showcasing Billy Starks to other fans who might not know who that is. Because I know who it is, but I don't know much about Billy Starks. Obviously, I know Athena from her time in WWE's Ember Moon. But if you get somebody as dominant as them to be your first tag team champions, or you put it on the Outcast, have Saraya and Harley Cameron feud with Athena and Billy Starks, you're getting more eyes on Ring of Honor, you're getting more eyes on AEW. You're helping yourself at that point because then since AEW doesn't have a TV deal and you have to go to their website to watch the shows, then you could get these AEW women back on AEW TV. Because Athena, she's very deserving of being able to be on Dynamite or just put her on Collision so you can expose it to the bigger audience of people that's actually watching it on TV. So I don't think that's a crazy idea. I think it'd be a great idea to bring tag team titles for the women in AEW. I think it'll work out really well. And then you have about around 38 to 40 women fighting for championships, and it's like 7 to 8 people for each division. So then if you had, and then obviously tag teams, they can split up, you can start new ones. Like, it'd be a really interesting dynamic if they did something like this to bring in women's tag team titles. So it's just an idea, but I don't think it'll be bad. I don't think that championship, sure you can say that, well, they got too many championships, don't bring them in now. But if you built it up, sign some more women, I think they could do a great job with it. Because TNA doesn't have the deepest women's roster, but they had a Knockouts Championship and they had a Knockouts Tag Team Championships. WWE, they've been doing a solid job with it. I think Bianca and Jay did a really great job with the tag titles. Bayley and Sasha were great in the pandemic when they had them, and they've been trying to do better with the tag titles. So I think if AEW implemented those, it would only help them. Now to end the video, I'm gonna be ranking each roster. Now for WWE, I split up NXT, SmackDown, Raw because it's all so different. But I think NXT has the best women's roster. The NXT, the first episode, of 3 straight women's matches. The first 2 were great. Now the one that followed, the third one, wasn't that great. But it shows you how deep this roster is and how much Shawn Michaels cares about these women being put on that spotlight and just letting them go out there and put on banger after banger after banger, as Sheamus would say. But you got the likes of Kalani Jordan, Lola Vice, Stephanie Van Kier, Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, Julia, and etc. And it's more that I didn't name that I was trying to think of. But that women's roster is really good. I also got the North American title. Julia just won the women's NXT championship. Fallon Henley is the North American champion, taking it off of Kalani Jordan, who has to go through a gauntlet match to even lose the title. That shows you how much they really care about her. And Kalani's probably finna go on this great heel run. So I think NXT has the best women's roster because they're putting on, like, they're consistently on TV, putting on banger matches, and they're not the greatest promo workers, but they're telling stories even without being the greatest promo workers. Then I think AEW is second when it comes to the women's division. Because number one, you got to look at the fact that they have a partnership so they can have all these different matches. Like, you can have Willow and Athena go overseas and fight in Japan. You can have Mina Shirakawa come over to AEW and put on and tell stories with Mariah May and Mercedes Moné. So it's like, I think they've done better at storytelling. And I think over the last year, they'll leapfrog these other wrestling companies like TNA, like SmackDown and Raw for WWE. I think they're competing right up there with NXT. It's just they got to get women more consistently on the matches and on the pay-per-views. Well, on the cards and on the pay-per-views. That is one thing I like to see improve. Number 3, and there's 6 out of these. Number 3, it ended up going with SmackDown. Now, I think their division is really solid. And obviously, Charlotte's been out the last year. So I'm just taking what I've seen over the last year. This is how far from 2024, the beginning of 2024 to now, Obviously, Charlotte was out all of last year, if I'm not mistaken. So she wasn't wrestling. So the women's division kind of lost its value. Jade Cargill, she was doing her thing. Then she ended up going out with an injury. So prayers up to all the women that's injured, like Alexa Bliss, Carmella, all them, and or whatever. Because I know some of them got families and stuff too. Becky Lynch. So some of them on Raw, SmackDown. That's the reason why Raw and SmackDown have been down. Because those women that are usually there aren't there. So it's like SmackDown, the women's roster. I think it's really solid with Bayley, Naomi, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton. Her cash in was really great. Bianca Belair. And I think with the Fatal 4-Way they just put on, I think that's going to be a bright spot. But Bianca and Naomi need to be defending those tag titles. Yeah. But that's. But I think SmackDown has been solid. Number 4, I have TNA. Their first show of the year showed me how much they care about their women's division, putting on a great 20-minute 8-woman tag team match. And the stuff they're doing with Jordynne Grace and Tessa Blanchard right now, being able to introduce tag titles and having a team like Ash by Elegance and Spitfire, who are the actual tag champions. And Jordynne Grace, she's been amazing too. And then NXT having a partnership with TNA. Obviously, it runs through WWE, but it's mainly TNA and NXT to do the collaborations and stuff. I think that's cool too, which helps boost TNA, getting their women on that bigger stage from time to time. Then at 5, I have Raw. I think the storyline of Rhea and Liv dragged on too long. Obviously, Becky going out with an injury, hurt. And then you had the constant triple threat matches. I think the way they did Selena Vega was wrong. It just didn't make sense to me. But they can have good matches from time to time. Io Sky's amazing. She's a phenomenal wrestler. But I think, yeah, the other brands and companies have been better at booking women than Raw have. And then last, I had New Japan Pro. People that don't watch New Japan Pro won't understand it, but it's they have a solid roster of women, but they don't have the deepest roster. They don't have the most women. And when you look at their events, if there's 10 matches on a card, only one of those matches is going to be a women's match. If it's 12 matches on a card, only 2 of those matches will be women's matches, and they're having to get people from AEW. That's why I kept alluding to Athena and Willow Nightingale, even Mina Shirakawa and Momo Watanabe. Those are the 2 best women in New Japan, but I can't think of anybody else. So it makes sense why. I can't think of anybody else that's on that level. That's why it makes sense that Mercedes Moné is winning these titles, and she's not going to keep them for 8 years. So I don't see what people are complaining about. But those, if I had to rank the women's rosters from best to worst, I'm not saying the New Japan is bad, just compared to the other ones. That's how I feel. So I have NXT first, AEW second, SmackDown third, TNA fourth, Raw fifth, and New Japan Pro sixth. Make sure you leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts below. And once again, shout out to Black Couch Booking giving me this title. Then I made the video myself. But peace out, y'all.